we are going to be looking at multi-step inequalities today. So yesterday we did one-step and two-step inequalities. Today you're going to have to do 3 things, 4 things, maybe even more different types of steps and movements to be able to solve for x or a, whatever variable you're looking at. We still want to be able to write an inequality and graph it along with solving. So there's kind of a lot going on here. The biggest thing to remember with inequalities, and really the only thing to keep in the back of your mind that's different in inequalities than it is in equations, is that you have to flip the sign sometimes. So make a note at the top, and this is the only thing that makes it different from what we're used to. You have to flip the sign when you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number. Honestly, other than that, you guys, inequalities are no different from what we did the first unit with equations. If you can remember when to flip the sign, you are going to have no problems here, assuming equations was okay. So these first 3 just say to solve the inequality. So you can draw the line through the sign if that helps you. This is a greater than. I still need to get a by itself, so I'm still going to do the same kind of steps I would do if there was an equal sign. We'll come closer here. The only difference is I just need to be thinking, do I need to flip the sign the whole time that I'm solving? So on number 1 here, I'm going to start by subtracting 7 from both sides. Okay, that's going to leave me with 6a is greater than negative 18. Don't need to flip the sign, I just subtracted. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 6. And I get a is, now I divided both sides by a positive 6, so I do not need to flip the sign. I keep it a greater than. It's okay that there was a negative over here and that this was negative 18. It's what you do to both sides that determines the flipping of the sign. This is a positive, so I'm good. Just for fun, if they said, hey, graph this on the number line, because you might have to do that. I won't get very much on there. Remember that this would be an open circle. And I would follow this like an arrow because the variable is on the left, and I would shade to the right. Numbers bigger than negative 3 would make this true. But they didn't say to graph it, so I'm good. I technically didn't have to do that part. Okay, on example 2, I'll draw my line. You don't have to. I see parentheses, and that makes me think distribute. And even if it's an inequality, if it's a greater than, a less than sign, whatever, you should still always distribute first if you can. Hopefully we're in that habit. So that's going to give me, what, 2x minus 4 minus that 3x is greater than or equal to negative 1. Then I'm going to combine like terms. And these are on the same side of the equal sign. So just do the problem like it looks. 2x minus 3x is negative 1x. You still have that minus 4 there, so bring that down. Now it's a 2-step equation, or inequality. I'm going to add the 4. And get negative 1x is greater than or equal to 3. And then my last step is to divide by negative 1. Okay, little red flag should go up in your mind. I just divided both sides by a negative 1. And if I do that, I have to flip the sign around because it changes all of the possible answers. It was a greater than or equal to. Now it's going to be a less than or equal to negative 3. Do not forget to flip the sign. If you do, you're going to get it all wrong. Okay, on the last little problem here, I see distributing on both sides of the inequality, so I'm going to start by doing that. Negative 6b plus 24 is greater than or equal to 6b minus 12. I'm going to get my b's together, so I'm going to choose to add 6b to both sides. And that'll give me 24 is greater than or equal to 12b minus 12. Okay, I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Still thinking in my mind, do I need to flip the sign? Do I not? I'm good so far. I haven't multiplied or divided by a negative on both sides. Last step is to divide by 12. And I'm good. I don't need to flip the sign. Ooh, I'm running out of space. Let's see, b. Sign's going to stay the same. Mouth opens towards the number away from b. Let's see, that's 3. Okay, so no different from solving with an equal sign. The only thing that was different was flipping it on example 2. Now you will encounter some word problems for these, but again, it's kind of the same thing as if it was an equal sign. You're just going to be using a greater than, a less than, or one of the or equal tos. The first step is still obviously to read it. So example 4 says, the baseball team is selling laundry detergent to raise money for athletic boosters. They charge, so I'm going to circle some stuff. They charge $24 for every container of detergent. Write and solve an inequality. Okay, so they're trying to help me. I'm using one of these signs, not an equal sign. Be careful. Write an inequality to find how many containers the team must sell to earn at least $650. Just like when we were doing equations, I want to figure out what I'm trying to find. How many containers? So let's define our variable. C is containers. I'm going to get what's on each side of my sign first. I know that the team sells the containers for $24 each. So I know that needs to look like 24C on one side. On the other side, you always put the total, and it's what they want to make in this case. They want to make $650. It's the sign that's going to be the tricky part for most of us. So the words at least here are going to help me do that. The money is over here where the variable is. This is how much they're going to earn. This needs to be at the very least $650. So I need this to be like $675, $700, $800, whatever. This needs to be more than $650. Or I think the team, it sounds like they're going to be okay if they earn exactly $650. So I'm going to add the or equal to. Okay. From here, I'm just going to solve it. So divide by 24. And notice that this is what I get in my calculator. Ooh, that's a little dark. I get a crazy long decimal, which really doesn't make sense. So if I get my answer down here, 27.08333333 of a container. Now, if they sell only 27 containers, so let's say I do $24 times 27 containers, they make $648. They need to make at least $650. So selling 27 containers is not right. You should not just go with rounding rules and round down. They need to sell 28 containers. Ooh, if they do that, then they'll hit their mark and they'll make over $650. So be careful here. The team has got to sell at least 28 containers. Watch your rounding. Do what I did, maybe plug it back in to see which one kind of works out and makes sense. Okay, last example here. The cost of purchasing an engraved piece of jewelry is $35 plus $1.20 per letter. So you buy the jewelry, $35, $1.20 per letter. You have at most $50 to spend on a single piece of jewelry. What's the greatest number of letters that you can get engraved? Write an inequality and solve it. Same thing, figure out the variable. What's the greatest number of letters? So I'm going to put L for letters, use my fancy L. I'm going to do what I did up here, you guys. I'm going to write what goes on each side and then put the sign in at the very end. So how much you're spending, let's see. You spend $35 to buy the necklace, whatever it is, plus $1.20 per letter, which will look like that. Leave some space for the sign, and let's put the total you have. You've got 50 bucks. Put that on the other side. It's the sign that's tricky, so let's see. You have at the very most $50 to spend. Where your variable is, this is the money you're spending. This cannot be more than 50, so it has to be less than 50 or exactly 50. Okay. Once it's set up, hopefully it's not too bad. We're just going to solve it. So let's subtract 35. Don't need to worry about flipping the sign. And then let's divide by 120. And let's see if this comes out nicely. Ooh, it doesn't. So we're going to have to think a little bit. We got this, that I can afford 12.5 letters. I don't know about you, but I don't know what half of a letter looks like. So most of us would say, ooh, round it up. Let's get 13 letters. If I did that, I'd spend $35 for the jewelry plus $1.20 times 13 letters. I would go over by 60 cents. So that did not work. I have to round down. I can only afford at the most 12 letters.